of a genius. The purpose of this talk is to unlock the genius within yourself. That being said, I will start with what qualifies me to speak to you about such a matter. To start, my qualifications for speaking to you about the anatomy of a genius is the fact that I am a creative genius. I've written 200 songs. I've been featured in several different art galleries. I'm currently in art galleries all across Chicago, and I am soon to be the holder of a doctorate degree in criminal justice. That being said, my combination of formal education and creative ventures puts me in a position to speak to you about things such as the anatomy of a genius. With that being said, hopefully by the time I'm done speaking, when you hear the word genius, you don't automatically think of Einstein. You don't automatically think of George Washington Carver. Hopefully you begin to think about yourself or people that you know in real life. Because it is my belief that there is a genius listening to me right now. You just don't know you have the potential to be a genius. And that's what my goal is today. That being said, to understand what I'm saying, you can't just know how to work Google. You can't just have read a bunch of books. To understand what I'm talking about today, there are two things that you will need. You will need to understand how to operate your mind's eye. Your mind's eye is the part of your brain that allows you to visualize things and see them in your imagination, right? The mind's eye is not something that you can wash over. It's something that you must work with. These are things that can't be, they're not tangible, right? So when you visualize something in your mind's eye, it's like happiness, success, right? These things mean different things to each different person, and they have to be visualized in your mind's eye before they become a reality. So if you understand that, that's the first prerequisite for understanding what I'm going to tell you today. The second prerequisite that you need is an understanding of the philosopher's stone. Now, the philosopher's stone is a metaphor. It's a common substance that can be turned into gold. One more time. The philosopher's stone is a common substance that can turn regular metal into gold. These are the two foundational things you will need to understand the anatomy of a genius. If you can't use your mind's eye and you don't understand the philosopher's stone, you're not going to get what I'm talking to you about today because the information I'm providing you cannot be found on Google. That being said, I would like to start off with the first part of the anatomy of a genius, which is going through the wire. The reason that this is the first part is because all things that can be considered genius lie beyond a wall of fear, right? Going through the wire merely means going through your fears, right? And there's something that we all admire about a person who has gone through the wire. The first example of going through the wire that I would like to use today, which I will be using throughout this entire presentation, is Kanye West when he went through his car wreck. Now, the car wreck itself is not going through the wire. It's what Kanye did after the car wreck that can be considered going through the wire. What Kanye did immediately after going through this car wreck is he had a mental transformation and a deeper belief in himself because he realized his death could happen at any moment. Based off that thought process, Kanye West chose to record a song while his jaw was wired shut. Not only did he record this song speaking through the wire, he also paid for the video himself. Now, there's something to be said about a person who believes in their dreams so much that they will face their fears, but there's something else to be said about somebody who will actually put up their own money because they believe in what they're doing to such a high degree. This is what a genius goes through, because what you visualize in your mind's eye as a genius does not necessarily translate to anybody else. Before Kanye made Through the Wire, if you were to say, hey, a virtually unknown rapper gets in a car wreck, during his recovery, should he record a song and make a music video about it? Before he did it, that sounded crazy. But after he did it, it sounded what? Genius, right? I'd like to break down one of the lyrics just to showcase what I'm talking about. I drink a boost for breakfast and ensure for dessert. Somebody order pancakes, I just sip the scissor. That right there could drive a sane man berserk. Not to worry, Mr. H to the Izzos back to Wizard. Now, I love this line. It's the opening line of the song, and obviously I have a deep appreciation for the song titled Through the Wire, but I also want to highlight what he meant by this. With this line, he's telling you that That right there would drive a sane man berserk, right? It would drive a regular person crazy. And this is the life that the genius must live. The thoughts that come to you and what you believe you can do are going to sound crazy to somebody else. The next thing is he's letting you know that he's using his mind's eye to reach the destination that he believes in, right? Not to worry. Mr. H to the Izzo is back to Wizark, right? Don't worry. I have more work to do. I know I got in a car crash, but I'm going to face my fear of looking like a gimmick, face my fear of sounding stupid on this song, and I'm going to make it happen. And that brings me to the second part of this portion of the anatomy of a genius, which is imagination, right? Imagination, the act of forming a mental image of something not present to the senses or never wholly perceived in reality. One more time. Or never wholly perceived in reality. This is the superpower of a genius, being able to see things that are not currently in existence. Your imagination is crucial to the anatomy of a genius. Your imagination is crucial because it is tailor-made to your existence. Your imagination has only ever existed inside of you, which means what you imagine in your mind's eye is literally made for you. I want you to digest that. Your imagination has only ever and will only ever exist inside of you, which means what you come up with in your mind's eye is literally made for you. Now, this is where the difficulty arises and why many people will never reach the level of genius. Because no matter what happens in your imagination, bringing that to fruition is still dictated by reality. There's still hoops you got to jump through. There's still things you have to do based off of the regular world. And many people don't have the patience to understand this difficult relationship between their imagination, the destination, and reality. And some of you in this room today, if you really want to reach your full potential, I want you to work on your relationship with your imagination, right? Which, and this relationship with the imagination brings me to another famous rap line, right? From Biggie Smalls. Biggie said in one of his most infamous lines, "It was all a dream. I used to read Word Up magazine, Salt and Pepper and Heavy D up in a limousine." Now this song and this opening line, it can be taken for granted because most of us don't use our mind's eye. Most of us don't understand the power of the Philosopher's Stone. But if you understand these two things, you understand that Biggie Smalls just gave you keys to life. Biggie Smalls just gave you the key to all of this. It was all a dream. It was all a dream, meaning it all occurred in my mind's eye. It all occurred in my mind's eye. I used to read the magazines, right? And then he reached that level because he pictured it where? In his imagination first, and he worked in that direction. Now, I know right now you're saying, is Biggie a genius? You're like, this guy, Kaijan the Icon, is trying to convince me that Biggie Smalls is a genius. And the answer to that question is yes. And the reason that I will tell you that Biggie Smalls is a genius is because he put words together that changed the world. And he was able to clearly depict the inside of his mind and shine, which is how a real genius is defined. One more time. Biggie Smalls is a genius because he was able to clearly depict the inside of his mind and shine, which is how a real genius is defined. Now, I want it to be clearly understood that at some point in your life, or at every part of your day, everything is happening in your head first. Down to brushing your teeth, going to the grocery store, meeting up with your boyfriend, meeting up with your girlfriend, talking to your mom. Everything happens in your imagination first. This is the beauty of being a human being. Now, many people's relationship with their imagination is virtually non-existent, right? We've been told, stop daydreaming. Stop daydreaming, right? We get told that in school. We get told that in life. So many people lose the beautiful relationship with their imagination and the ability to bring the things that they imagine into real life, right? But I want it to be understood that everything you do, whether you like it or not, happens in your imagination first. It's only animals that have to live in the moment. It's only a dog that when you throw a steak at it, it immediately has to react because it has no concept of where that steak came from, right? But when you want a steak, you have to go to the grocery store, get it, season it, sear the pan, or you have to go to Texas Roadhouse, drive there, get in the car, start the car, get there, eat it, pay the bill, all these things, right? They happen in your imagination first. But we will move on. Because I want you to understand the power of your imagination. Which brings us back to the song Through the Wire. I'm in the same hospital where Biggie Smalls died. The doctor said I had blood clots, but I ain't Jamaican, man. Story on MTV, and I ain't trying to make a band. I swear this right here is history in the making, man. One more time. Let's bring it back to the context. This is a man who just came close to death. Right? And coming close to death, he didn't go into depression. He faced his fear. He said, my story was on MTV and I ain't trying to make a band. I swear this right here is history in the making, man. Now, saying that this is history in the making when you're a virtually unknown rapper, that takes something that we haven't talked about, which is the next portion I'm going to move into, which is faith. Faith, a firm belief in the absence of proof. This is what it takes to become a genius. You must have faith. You must have a firm belief in the absence of proof. Because remember, having an imagination means seeing something that is not currently in reality, right? Faith is a huge component to facing your fears and making it through the wire. Because what a genius sees has to come with faith. Because to face your fears with no proof that it will happen, that has to come with something deeper than just scientific mathematical equations. It has to come with something deeper, right? Which brings me back to the song Through the Wire. I'm a champion, so I turn tragedy to triumph. Spit music that's fire, spit my soul through the wire. So through my fears I will speak. Through my fears I will have faith. Through my fears I will have imagination, right? Because faith cannot act alone. Faith has to be put into practice. How do you put faith into practice? To put faith into practice, you have to believe in the soul. Now, I'm not speaking in a religious term. I know that when I say the word soul, you automatically think of your religious practice. And that's fine. But today I'm not speaking to you from any religious standpoint. I'm simply saying to operate faith, to operate your imagination, you have to believe in something bigger than the self. You have to believe in something bigger than the body. You have to believe in something deeper than the flesh, which will be the soul, right? Because without a belief in soul, you can never really reach the level of genius. Because if you don't believe in soul, then you don't believe there's something inherently great within all people, then you won't do anything to help humanity. Because why would you? Why would you do that? If you don't believe in soul, why would you do that? Now, I'd like to take a moment to read something to you. Because this is the importance of becoming a genius. And this is something very crucial to reaching the level necessary to consider yourself a genius. It is within the soul of the individual where the battle of good and evil is won or lost. The struggle between good and evil being what gives life meaning. The genius understanding that all life depends on the change of heart inside one solitary individual. Thus, to be a genius is to understand that every individual is sacred. Right? Now, you can read it on the slide or you can replay that. I'm not going to read it again. I want you to just let that soak in. But the belief that every individual is sacred is at the base foundation of anybody who reaches the level of genius. There is no genius you've ever heard speak who said, I did this for myself to help myself. Right? I faced my fears. I went through the wire just for me. No, all geniuses understand that we are all connected to each other and that my narrative will motivate you to do better. That what I create will help you get through your life, right? No genius is doing something for themselves. And that's also why many people will never reach the level of genius because they're selfish, right? They imagine things just for them, right? They have faith just in themselves. They believe in their own unique qualities and they believe that they're sacred but no one else, right? There's a certain cap, a very low cap that you will reach with that level of selfishness. That being said, based on this understanding, it is the genius that truly makes us all believe in souls. Because geniuses are the greatest example of the true power of an individual. If you look at the word genius, and the reason that it's held in such high esteem is because they are the clearest examples of the potential that lies within all of us, right? Einstein, Michael Jordan, Elton John, Eminem, J. Cole, Kendrick Lamar, anybody who's famous for tangible talent, there's something about seeing these people operate that motivates us all. Because, wow, look what one man or one woman can do, right? Before I move on to the second component of the anatomy of a genius, I would like to clarify that to possess this first portion, to understand this first portion of the anatomy of a genius, of facing your fears, there are things that you must have. One, you must go through your fears. I'm not saying face them, I'm saying go through them. The same way Kanye did when he had his mouth wired shut and still recorded a song and still recorded a music video for it. The second thing is, you must have a proper, mature relationship with your imagination, understanding that it is all a dream until you make it a reality by working with reality. Your imagination is never separate from reality. Your imagination will always have to work within the context of reality. The third thing you will need is faith. Faith that the relationship of your imagination and reality is a proper relationship. Faith that even in the absence of proof, you will get it done. This is how you reach genius level. And the fourth thing you will need to go through the wire, to face your fears, to become a genius, the fourth thing that you will need is a belief in the soul. A belief not just in your own soul, but a belief that every individual is sacred and that there is something that exists inside of you that's worthwhile that also exists inside of everybody else, right? Must be a deep belief in the soul if you want to reach the goal of becoming a genius. It is at this point that I will stop. This is part one. There's 4 parts to the anatomy of a genius, but it's at this point that I will stop. And I hope that you join me for part 2 of the anatomy of a genius, which is 808 and heartbreaks. 808 heartbreaks. Thank you for your time. It's been Kaijan the Icon, and I will speak to you soon.